Hey everyone, welcome back for another piece of content. We're doing something a little different this time, and also I'm sorry to any of you who've been patiently waiting for more. Recently I've been having a busy month and a couple of personal things on the go. I will be bringing out more episodes when I can. I have just needed some time to rest and address some concerns. Since YouTube is just a side thing, and my main line of work has been especially demanding over the past month, it's been difficult to sit down and keep going where I'd left off. There will be more episodes soon, I'll just need time. For today, we're just going to chat about flavor and balance and a more general concept when it comes to D&D 5th edition. So flavor is a unique concept, and it can differ between a lot of different classes, and how they seem and how they work, manifesting spells from different locations, and tapping into a different plane to access the same effects for a spell's manifestation, more or less, using the same terms here. An Eldritch Blast cast by a Warlock as opposed to a different class that stole the spell may manifest it differently. A Sorcerer may bring that out of themselves, conjuring a lot of nearby energy to let out a huge concussive explosion of air and pressure. Whereas perhaps a Warlock just casts a ray of incoming force that just socks them like a disintegration ray or something of that effect. So it could definitely change per caster. Not everything has to look the same, not everything has to feel the same. It's when you change the damage of the spell that things get weird. If an Eldritch Blast is fire damage because your friend is like, well, you know, my patron is a fire genie and it makes sense, and you think to yourself, well, yeah, it does, but it's going to remove perhaps a unique concept that you're missing out on by swapping it out from force damage, because force damage is a really versatile damage type, and I don't think there's a lot of things resistant or immune to it, so it's just kind of a really useful spell, especially for the Warlock, considering, you know, what abilities they have and what things they might lack. But that's beyond spells as well. Abilities in general, I mean, one fighter to another, a dex fighter, a strength fighter, things can look different. They may impose themselves differently. If they're defending their allies, they might bring their shield down and just smash it down and reduce a bunch of damage. For an example, the strength fighter might just have a massive bulwark that they manage to impose among their enemies. Whereas a dex fighter might have a rapier and a buckler, so that buckler you have a lot less to work with, but with a cool ass flip. They come around, they bring their shield within notion of the attack and riposte it to the best of their capabilities, I suppose. But on paper it's the same effect. It's how they do it that changes things and can really help make your party seem unique, especially if you have same classes, same archetypes, that sort of idea. When it comes to balancing a game, that's when things get interesting. I mean, you give more magic items to your party, maybe you give them extra spells, maybe you made the background a little more poppy for their own benefit, what have you. And you may need to make stronger enemies in order for that to really pan out in the end. Or otherwise every group of goblins or every enemy that they could possibly come across in their journey is going to be a lot easier to deal with. You have to read up on how to juice up the enemies and how to answer maybe specific concerns that your party might bring to the face more often than otherwise, than before all these markups in their power. And I mean, if you have a lower magic setting, if you have things set up in a harsher start-off situation where maybe they don't have as much and they're not as useful as they could perchance be, the enemies that are in the situation here might need a bit more of a nerf or a lowering of capabilities so that the party doesn't get absolutely destroyed in the first encounter. Stuff like that. You might even introduce new abilities for some classes, or you might introduce new abilities for certain classes. You might try to adapt them for more specific situations. You can try to develop a specific niche so that when certain problems come up more often than perhaps they would before, or in a normal game, those party members are more capable of addressing such concerns, such challenges with some competency, as opposed to walking into everything completely blind and completely unaware of what to do. You might be looking at a really cool monster that you want to throw at your party, but you realize, yeah, that Bodak can kind of one-shot people, and maybe this specific monster can paralyze for a long time and just really make the battle a pain in the ass. And I mean, we're here to play a game. I hate petrifying my party, stunning my party, killing my party. I don't want to do that because you're there to play, and stun and all that just means a timeout for you. Or even the sleep effect. You're just not playing. You're just not doing anything. And you're looking at your party members going, okay, are any of you going to help me? And the rest of them go, well, we don't have lesser restoration or any of these other abilities that could potentially help you. So you're just kind of out of it because you failed to save and there's no way for you to get out of this. It might be acceptable in some games, especially where you have a lot of players, but I hate taking away absolutely everything that a player can do to do anything in one game. They try to save the next turn and then they fail, and then they try to save again next turn and they fail, and they're sitting there and they're just waiting for combat to end, for their effects on them to end so that they can actually play the game again. And I know that that's a pet peeve of a lot of different people, so taking those things away or just nerfing them or making them a lot easier to deal with is better. Instead of outright killing them, it just does a lot of damage. Or instead of paralyzing them for 1 minute, it paralyzes them for the round, and then they can come back the next turn, and everything's okay. I think that's how it should work. I understand the paralysis and poison and all those things lasting for a long period of time, especially in consideration of real-life effects, but at the end of the day, a quick knock to the head should not have you concussed for like an entire hour. You should be able to get back up and at least fight with some grogginess. Maybe there's like a -1 to attack rolls or something like that after the effect has taken place. And instead you're making saving throws to get rid of that minor inconvenience so that you can get back into the game and you're only missing for 1 turn. You know, at least it lets you get a glass of water. You can come back and sit down and, you know, fire away at the situation as you were before. So those are things to consider, I suppose. Different contexts that might be able to help you and your players out at the end of the day. Things like that are good to discuss with your party, just because it's nice to let everyone play the game and not feel shitty about failing a constitution save. But yeah, that's really all I had to say about all that today. Flavor, balance, these are important things in the game, core concepts that I think about pretty often, especially in games where I put high magic settings in, or we just have a very good starting point that happens to put them in a pretty reasonable condition to a point where maybe they can take things on that are more powerful than their normal level of creatures they would face, given default conditions. But I hope you all have a wonderful day. I hope you're having a wonderful existence as it stands. I've been a busy little bug, but at the end of the day, I'll be back, and there will be more. So, in the meantime, well, there's the closing phrase, but we're just going to skip that today. Take care, everybody. I love you all, and have a wonderful night.